Welcome to There's Another Clear Choice, a series of short modules which we will discuss the why, what, and how I switched to another aligner system. The learning objectives for this webinar are to review and discuss common rules with aligner treatment and review various case utilization of the 3M Clarity aligners and the Oral Care Portal. Also to explore different aspects of practice workflow to consider when implementing a new product, discussing motivating factors to implementing a new product into your practice flow, and lastly, learn how to navigate the Oral Care Portal and 3M treatment design. Hello, my name is Herb Hughes, and I have over 2 decades of treating my patients with aligners. I joined my father in his orthodontic practice over 30 years ago, and recently, my son, Justin, joined me to become the 3rd generation orthodontist in our family. In addition to my private practice, I'm the past president of the Virginia Association of Orthodontists, and I'm currently a council member on the AAO Council on Communication. And lastly, I love magic. I've been studying and performing illusions for my patients and friends for the past 26 years, and I'm actively involved in the IBM Ring 50. That's the International Brotherhood of Magicians, Washington, D.C. Magic Study Club. For 20 years, they kept telling me that I can't do it without them, that their brand is all powerful, that their plastic is smart, and I made the decisions to cut them off. And what I realized is that I can do it without them. I found out that their brand is not as powerful as they proclaim, and I discovered that plastic is plastic. It doesn't possess intelligence. I realized that I was the one who possesses superior orthodontic intelligence, not the appliance. You know, as a magician and orthodontist, I must inform you that there are no magic appliances. It is you, the orthodontic specialist, who possess the magic. You are the one with the diagnostic and the treatment skills that differentiate you from the rest. Orthodontics is not a product. It is a process. And it is critical to this process that a skilled orthodontic specialist navigate the patient's treatment. It can't be done effectively remotely. So why, after 2 decades of using one particular aligner system, did I decide to make the switch? Well, there were 3 reasons. The first is I want to be in control. I was tired of being told what to do, what appliance I needed to use, and when I needed to use it. I'm the orthodontic specialist, and I want to be in control over which appliance to use for my patients. I'm a firm believer that when you limit your treatment options, you limit your results. Sometimes it's better to treat a case with aligners, and sometimes with braces. And sometimes it's better to use a combination of the 2. Partnering with a company who has all the tools gives me the freedom to choose which appliance to use. And that's what I want. And the second reason is I want choices. I want to choose which aligner company to partner with. In the past, I was forced to use the only aligner company that was available. But times have changed, and now we have choices. In making my decision who to partner with, I wanted a company with an innovative history and a full portfolio of orthodontic products and services. You can't do today's job with yesterday's method and be in business tomorrow. It was 3M who invented the pre-pasted bracket. Then they followed it up with the flash-free adhesives. Imagine what they will do next. A better way to place attachments, using different types of plastics for different tooth movements. One thing is certain, 3M will discover something that will be a game changer for us. There is no doubt. Also, I wanted a company with a full portfolio of orthodontic products and services, not a company that was motivated to sell me their one product, whether it was right for my patients or not. And lastly, I want our specialty to thrive in the future, not just survive. The question that I kept asking myself was, why am I continuing to take the poison today that I know will kill me tomorrow? I decided to make the switch and partner with 3M because they gave me control, choices, and they support me and my specialty. I have 3 aligner rules that are essential for my setup, and I'd like to share them with you. The first rule is really understanding that your 3D setup is a force system, not a final result. What do I mean by that? Well, for years, I would look at the final setup and say, that's exactly what I want. So I'd push the submit button. But I was often frustrated because I rarely got that final result. Well, why was that? It was because I didn't look closely at each stage to see if the movements were actually realistic. Now, moving a tooth on a computer is much easier than in the mouth. And the second reason was that I didn't over-engineer my biomechanics like I do with braces. You know, the way I open deep bites with braces is I place a reverse curve of SPI in the arch wires, especially in the mandibular arch. However, I know that I've got to place a more exaggerated bend in the wire in order to get my desired result. It's the same thing with setting up my aligner cases. I realized that I needed to over-engineer my biomechanics. This is a great example of what I do. In order to get to my final result, I needed to over-engineer my biomechanics. I had to program an edge-to-edge anterior bite relationship so that I could get the ideal overjet. The second rule is that teeth need freedom. Yeah, teeth are move much better and easier when there is space available, especially when treating with aligners. Whether you expand the arches or you do some IPR, make sure that you have space prior to moving the teeth. If you have a rotated tooth, I instruct the tech that I want approximately 0.5 millimeter space, both mesial and distal, prior to rotating the tooth. You can't wedge it into place. I've done it and it doesn't work. And the third rule is don't outsource your thinking. Don't hand over your mind over to some unknown tech and expect them to customize your treatment plans. I don't expect my chairside assistants to properly develop a treatment plan or to place the brackets onto my patient's teeth. Same goes with aligner treatment. It is vitally important that you view every stage of your aligner treatment to see if the proper mechanics are being administered. Remember rule number one, it's a force system, not a final result. Now it's time to reveal some plastic magic. So let's look at some of the cases. This is case number one. It's a mild spacing. I call it a short-term touch-up. It's pretty straightforward with some mild spacing. It's a 62-year-old female. I call it a short-term touch-up because the patient really only has one or two specific goals in which will take several months of treatment, not years of time. So most of my short-term touch-up cases are around 6 to 9 months. I estimated for this particular case, it was one of my first ones, and I wanted to see if the Clarity Aligner system would actually work. I estimated 6 months. The actual treatment time was 3.5 months. Here is the initial. She had previous orthodontic treatment and had 4 bicuspids extracted. She was not interested in closing those extraction sites. Her main goal was to close the space in between the upper ones. Here it is, 2 months and 6 aligners. I added some attachments onto the upper laterals. I feel that those teeth are some of the most difficult ones to control because of their size and their shape. I didn't put any attachments on the centrals, and you'll see that they moved nicely together, and I got some nice bodily movement. And this case was finished with just 11 aligners, no refinements in 3.5 months. This is the overlays, and it shows kind of the initial, what my treatment design was, and this is the actual final position. Here's case number 2. It is a moderate crowding. I had a good size overjet and then anterior open bite tendency, 30-year-old female. And we had planned, our estimated treatment time was roughly 6 to 9 months. and actual time was 4.5 months. So let's take a look at it. And you can see that she had, some crowding in both top and bottom, and had, a little bit of an overjet as well as an open bite tendency. 2 months, 7 aligners. 3 months, 13 aligners. Now, she did have a little bit of gingival recession prior to treatment, and she's going to have a graft afterwards. But this is the final. Once again, we did not have to do any refinements. 15 aligners, 4.5 months. These are the overlays, and what we see is the yellow is the initial and the blue is the final. What I really liked was that we had some nice bodily movement, especially on these lower anterior teeth. The initial, the treatment design, and here's the final position. Our third case was a deep bite, posterior crossbite with some mild crowding. It was a 50-year-old female, and we were treating her daughters, and she decided that, I want to have my teeth straight as well. Our estimated treatment time was roughly 12 months, and our actual time was 10 months. Here's the initial. A little bit more challenging case for a liner treatment because of the deepness of the bite as well as the posterior crossbite. 2 months, 7 aligners. 5 months, 20 aligners. 7 months. And it was at 9 months we decided that we wanted to see if we could get this crossbite fixed. She was delighted and ready to stop treatment. We wanted to get the posterior crossbite in a little bit better position. Let's take a look back and see our progress. So we had to wear some crossbite elastics, and this is 10 months, 36 aligners. Very, very pleased with the way the bite opened up. And this shows the initial treatment design and the final again. And what I really liked on her is again, you can see this nice, bodily movement of those lower anterior teeth. Case number 4 was a deep bite with some mild spacing. Another challenging case to try to treat a teenage boy. He was motivated because he said he didn't want to wear a mouth guard over his braces. Our treatment time was 12 months. Our actual time was 10 months. Once again, we show the initial. I had a very deep bite, but in order to get to the final position, we had to over-engineer our treatment design and get him almost to an edge-to-edge, almost an open bite tendency. And even here, if we look in terms of trying to get torque, had to over-engineer that. And this is the actual final position. So here we are, 2 months, 4 months, 6 months. And this is our final position, 10 months, 30 aligners. So let's go back and review it. So I was very pleased with this, opening up the bite, getting the spaces closed up, especially on a teenage boy. Got a nice smile line. This is case number 5. Moderate crowding with a deep bite. A 28-year-old female. Had no previous orthodontic treatment. We had estimated treatment time of roughly 12 months, and our actual time was 11 months. Once again, you see the deep bite, you see the crowding, especially on the bottom. Once again, we've got to make room. We've got to set those teeth free in order to be able to park those teeth into a proper position. This is 7 weeks, 3.5 months, 6 months, 9 months. There we are. Now let's take a look back at it again. And this is the final position with 36 aligners. I also look at the size and the shape of the teeth. And if we're looking at the central incisors, is it actually the position of the teeth, or is it actually maybe the size and the shape of it? So we took a look at this one and going back and saying, maybe we need a tooth manicure, and we just do a little bit of occlusal adjustment. Here is the initial, the treatment design, and the final position. This is a great picture because it shows how nicely those anterior teeth on the bottom were intruded. Shows the difference between the yellow being the initial and the blue is the final. Again, from the occlusal view, you can see how nicely these teeth, got into position. We had some nice bodily movement. Case number 6 was a class 2 with mild crowding and a posterior crossbite. 46-year-old female, and we were treating her son and daughter, and so she decided to go ahead and get treatment as well. We're midway through this case, but I did want to show it to you. Our estimated time was roughly about 12 months of treatment time. We're currently about 11 months into treatment. Actually, aligner treatment time is 8 months. And you can see that she has got really good crossbite on this right side, and she's a good class 2 with a good amount of crowding as well. So I tried to insert the carrier appliance and see if we could get that class 2 corrected on the front end prior to using aligners. We did it for about 4 months. I wasn't getting a lot of movement. So I decided to switch and go ahead and move her to the Clarity aligners. So this is basically when we inserted the Clarity aligners, and we also put an attachment onto the upper right 3, as well as a button so that she could wear some class 2 elastics. 2 months, 4 months. We're getting nice expansion. And if we look at the progress, and once again, you see, even without the expansion appliances or carrier, we were able to get nice transverse width with the Clarity aligners. She was ecstatic about the progress because we look at the smile lines and we see she had a little black corridor here on the right side, and her smile line is looking much, much better. But we want to correct that crossbite on the right side, so she's still in treatment. As a magician and a mentalist, I studied and perfected the art of mental persuasion. Going through this process, I actually came to the realization that I needed to change my mindset first in order to make the switch for us to be successful. See, I was scared at first because I didn't know if I'd lose patients. Would they stay with me, or would they go to a different office that offered the brand that they were looking for? Currently, I've submitted over 140 3M Clarity aligner cases, and I'm here to tell you that I haven't had one that I've lost to a brand. Yeah, fear is a powerful influence over one's mindset and decisions. I tell my patients the good news is that there are a lot of aligner companies in the market today. That plastic is plastic, and that it is the skill level of the orthodontist that is the game changer. When you convey confidence in your ability, your team and your patients will sense it, and they will follow you. The why. Now that I had the right mindset, my next challenge was to enlighten my staff so that they could be on the same page and we could work as an effective team. If your team doesn't buy into your vision, they will ultimately undermine it and it will fail. So how did I convince them that it was in their best interest? I shared with my team the current trends in orthodontics. I educated them that we are experiencing increased competition because more orthodontists are moving into our area. More general dentists are doing orthodontics, and we have a new player in the game, direct-to-consumer companies. Now more than ever, everybody wants a piece of the orthodontic pie. I informed them that switching to 3M, which is a company that supports us and our specialty, will help to keep our practice thriving, and more importantly, would help to protect their jobs as use orthodontics. That's when they had that aha moment. It's amazing how supportive they all became once they knew what was in it for them. And that's when the magic began. So now that my team bought into the why it was important for them to make the switch, it was time to explain the how. The first step was to ease my team's fears. They were concerned about the change and how it would affect them. Would it be really hard and time consuming? To their surprise, the 3M support team guided them smoothly and painlessly through the transition. If you've been treating patients with aligners in the past, then the switch will be easy. Initially, my team was worried that there would be a lot of problems uploading the scans from our iTero scanner. But since 3M is an open system, any scanner can be used to capture a high-quality STL file. Our workflow in the office is to have one of our assistants obtain the patient's photos, x-rays, and scan, followed by uploading them into the 3M oral care portal. This whole process takes a couple of minutes. Once the assistants have done it a couple of times, it's easy to do. And after the records have been uploaded, my team informs me, and then I can customize the prescription and submit it to 3M. The next question was, how do we schedule the Clarity Aligner patient? After I submitted the case to 3M, I can expect to get the treatment design back to me in 1 to 3 days for my review. Keep in mind, depending upon how many changes you make and how quickly you respond will directly affect the overall time it takes to get aligners into your office. You play a major role in the turnaround time, so make it a priority to check either your email or the oral care portal several times a day to see what actions need to be taken. Then punch them off your list. Once I accept the treatment design, it takes approximately 3 weeks for the 3M to fabricate and deliver the aligners into my office. With all that being said, we normally schedule our inserts 4 to 5 weeks out, which is normally not a problem because we tell our patients how the process works. We tell them that we're going to take our time to customize their treatment design so that it is done properly. After getting my team on board, I then turn my attention to my patient's mindset. The most obvious question that I needed to address was when a new patient requested a specific brand of aligners. What I found out was that patients don't know what they don't know. They would come into the office and ask for one particular brand, but don't realize that there are a lot of different aligner companies, in the market today. We now have choices. By enlightening my patients, it changed their mindset, and their focus is not on the tools that I use, but on the services that I provide. Because there has been an upward trend in adult orthodontics, we decided to create an experience exclusively for adults where we offer clear choices. We were honored to have our Adult Smile Center featured in the AAO Bulletin. You'll notice that we did not call it the Center for X, some brand. The reason why is that I don't know if that particular brand will be around tomorrow. We know that we want to treat adults and we want to give them beautiful, healthy smiles. And any title with the word center around it sounds really impressive. We even got it trademarked with the U.S. Patent Company. As a magician, I might force a card on somebody, but I don't force treatment or appliances on my patients. A proven technique to build trust, which is the key to making a sale, is to give other people some control and choices over the process. I firmly believe that if you don't give your patients what they want, they'll never be truly happy. So how do I find out what they want? I ask them a specific question, which guides them to begin their answer with, I want blank. I want my spaces closed, or I want my lower teeth straight, or I want my protrusion fixed. The question I ask them is this: what would you like changed or improved about your smile? Yeah. What would you like changed or improved about your smile? By asking this question, I'm influencing my patient's mindset so that they will know that I care about them. And then I'm also actively listening to their concerns. The real trick is giving them not only what they want, but also what they need. And after we agree on what they want is obtainable, then the conversation turns to choices. I inform the patient that I'm an orthodontic specialist and I'm an expert with all the tools. If the patient requests a specific brand of aligners or braces, I tell them the good news that there are many different options available today. And one thing we offer at the Adult Smile Center is clear choices, whether it be clear aligners or clear braces. I tell my patients, you know, it's kind of like Kleenex or tissues. You know, plastic is plastic. You know, what makes the difference is the orthodontist. It's me. The aligners are only a tool that I use to align teeth. So depending upon the skill level of the orthodontist, it will have a direct impact on your final result. Because I know the importance of giving choices to improve my patient's mindset, I offer them a variety of different appliances, such as clear aligners, clear braces, colored braces, braces behind their teeth, and yes, I offer old school retro metal braces because, believe it or not, I've got some adult patients that actually request them. With that being said, I don't use smoke and mirrors to trick my patients into treatment. My philosophy is to be upfront, be honest, and be authentic. I tell them I'm the orthodontic specialist, I'm the expert at using all the different types of appliances, and I will use the best tools to treat their case. One way to ensure that we are being upfront with our patients regarding treatment options was updating our website to reflect the changes in the industry and our practice. We've gone more generic for the most part. We offer aligners and braces, and we concentrate on the services we offer rather than the tools. I want patients to know that we embrace the latest technology, and everybody knows that 3M is the gold standard when it comes to the quality of products. But what I really want to impress them with is their final results and our patient care. We straighten teeth and create beautiful smiles, and we do it by offering our patients clear options. You know, it's wise to, you know, for search engine optimization purposes, to include certain words or phrases, so we readily have them, you know, prominent in our website. We've also modified our consent forms so that they would be more generic as far as the brands, but more specific for our office. And lastly, we made a generic aligner tip sheet, and we give it to our patients at both the initial consult, also on the day we actually insert the aligners. You know, it's amazing how we will get just a random patient that says, we never talk to them about attachments or IPR. So we kind of double do it. We verbally tell them and we physically hand them our tip sheet, which is also documented in the patient's chart. I've submitted over 140 Clarity Aligner cases, and I'd like to share with you some of my tips that I've learned over the past 18 months. The big picture is that 3M software is very user-friendly and easy to navigate, and I've been very impressed with their ongoing improvements. I'm confident that 3M will continue to pleasantly surprise me with game-changer innovation. Another nice feature is that there's no cost for diagnostic setups. So if I want to take a look at a case and virtually kind of walk it through to see if it's an extraction case or a non-extraction case, or what type of tools do I want to use, you could do that on the oral care portal.
I'd like to take you through a tour of the oral care portal and highlight some of the features that I use most often. 3M software has a ton of data available, and you can customize the information you want to see your cases. I prefer to keep it as simple as possible, but you might want to dive in deeper and explore more options on your own after the webinar. If you look at the top toolbar, you can take a look. You can view it from the messages from the technicians. You can look at patient lists, or you can actually look at case list. I like the case list. And the reason why is that over here, it shows me the list of priorities with the exclamation point. These are the ones that I need to call for action. So I'll look over for actions, and you can see this is ready for a setup review. Over on the items, you can see this is a new case, and these are refinements. Now you can customize, the views and information you want to see. Just click onto this down drop, look at columns. You can add patient's name, you could add doctors, you could add the oral care account number. I keep it pretty simple, and you can kind of remove those so you can have any view that you like. If you want to search for a particular patient, you can put there either the case ID or you can put the patient's name. So you can just type in their last name and you can click onto the search bar. And that's how I look up my cases in the oral care portal. So let's take you through a case setup in the 3M treatment design software. But before I go into how to revise the setup, I want to go through and show you some of the features in the 3M treatment design software that I like to use when viewing my case setups. So initially, this is the view that you see. You'll see on the left-hand side review notes from the technician. Click on records, and you can review the records that you have submitted. After looking at those, I minimize it. You have a variety of different views. You can take a look and you can go dual view, or you can do gallery. I use the single view most often. Top right-hand corner under Tools, you click down here. They've got a new feature called the dark mode. I like it because the background is black and it makes the models really pop out. We go back and we look, they've got analysis. So if you want to look at a Bolton analysis, you can look at the maxillary arch, mandibular arch, it's got all the measurements. You can also look at arch, the arch length. If we look at another tool is the cross section. This is a really cool feature because it allows you to look from the lingual and to be able to see what types of movements without being obstructed by the opposing view. If you go down to the toolbar, you can just toggle back and forth and you can see the movements from the lingual. So really nice feature to be able to look at. Bottom left-hand corner, if we look in terms of movements, tons of data, whether it be looking at the translation, inclination, angulation. They also look where they highlight, like this particular tooth is what they call the pacing tooth. It's going to be the one that's going to require the most stages or the most movement. If we look at how much IPR is requested, we look here, we can click onto the entire case. And on this particular case, it's got 1.9 millimeters and it shows how much IPR in each individual tooth. If we want to go by stage, click on by stage. Underneath the toolbar, if we look at this orange triangle, click on that. So at stage 9, these are the teeth. This is the amount of IPR. At stage 15, and then again at stage 24. If we look at the toolbar on the top, we've got grids, so you can, make them larger, smaller, depending upon how you want to utilize that. occlusal. This is really nice. I like to use the one that says distance. And when I'm looking at the contacts, I like the dual view because it shows, the initial and it shows the final. And it shows where the contacts will be. So if you like the setup, you just go over here to the approve bar and you go ahead and click onto that. So if I want to revise one of my setups, I'll go to the button on the upper right hand corner and click onto revise. And what you'll notice is that to the left, you'll have an area where you can type in revision comments, and you can also make changes that will be automatically placed into this box. This is the area that I utilize this tool. You can look for attachments. You can either add them or delete them. You can actually change the colors. I like to have them black so you can, they really stand out. IPR, you can remove it or add it. If you want to add some IPR, click onto the plus or minus, and you'll notice that as soon as I do that, these changes are automatically placed in the box. So we can change that. If you notice you may have, I've got a black triangle. I want to do some IPR to reduce that. Click onto the green triangle, add some IPR, and it adds it over here. If you wanted to, let's say I wanted to remove an attachment. I click onto that, and I can right click, and then I remove the attachment. If I wanted to copy an attachment, I'll right click, copy the attachment, click onto the tooth that I want to put it onto, right click, and then paste it. Then I can grab a hold of that. I can position anywhere on the tooth that I want to. I can swivel that around if I want to do a slash position. I can also change the length of it, also the width of it, and the depth. So you have a lot of flexibility in terms of positioning your attachments. If you wanted to add an attachment, you've got up here where it says attach. You can grab one of the designs, grab it, and drag it and place it onto the tooth. Once again, you have a lot of flexibility in positioning and shaping that attachment. If you wanted to, let's say you wanted to do a class 2 elastic, you said, okay, I'll go under cuts. I'll grab this and I'll place it on the upper right 3, and I'll grab this and I'll place it on the lower right 6, a cutout, so that I can place a button, and then later on we can do class 2 elastics. If I want to do individual tooth movements, I highlight the tooth, a lot of different options to swivel it, move it out, buccally or lingually. You can go mesial, distally. If you want to make really small movements, incremental movements, come up, click onto the buccal lingual, and if you look in terms of just clicking onto the plus, you go out buccally. I go the minus, it'll go back lingually. If I wanted to move 2 or 3 teeth simultaneously, then I would click onto the control button, highlight a couple of the teeth, release the control button, grab this bar, and you can move it simultaneously anywhere you want to. If I wanted to move a tooth individually, and let's say I really wanted to pivot around the mesial, you go over here and you'll look at this where it says rotation, click onto that, click onto mesial, and now you can grab this bar and you can pivot around just the mesial aspect of it. So those are the features that I use when I navigate through the treatment design software, and I hope this has been helpful.
So what's your preference? You can put down in terms of how you like to have your cases set up. Now, for me, I'll put down for deep bite cases, to set that final overbite relationship to almost edge to edge or 0 millimeters. Okay. I like to put the attachments on the 4s and 5s. I don't need the attachments on the teeth that I'm going to be actually intruding. I need the attachments on the teeth that I'm going to be using as anchorage or extruding. And open bite cases, you know, we want to actually, our final result, over-engineer it, have heavy contact on those anterior teeth. And actually on the posterior teeth, you almost have no contact whatsoever. You can also use some occlusal attachments. I call them bite elevators, you know, on the certain teeth that you want to intrude. I'll use them on the 6s and the 7s. And once again, you know, with crowding, you're going to make room to position those teeth prior to trying to wedge them into position. So either doing some expansion or also doing some IPR.
I want to walk you through one of our setups. This is a deep bite case on a teenage boy. This is the toolbar down below, and what we see is that we really need to over-engineer our treatment, you know, mechanics. Once again, this is a force system, not really a final result. So you almost, for these, we kind of plug in that you've got to get almost an anterior open bite, an edge to edge. We look at the amount of torque. We're moving those upper anterior teeth back, but we've got to place a lot of torque. We really don't want this much overjet, okay? But you've almost got to plug that into the equation because we know that it's not going to give us that much in the final result. And you'll see that when we show you the actual case. We also notice that we've got some bite ramps. These are just in the evaluation process right now, so they're not available to see how helpful they are with opening the bite. Let's take a look down at the bottom. And a lot of times we'll take a look, if you look at the lower left 5, you know, this tooth is pretty round shaped. They've got some rotation of it, but I'm not sure if we're gaining a lot of benefit from making a tremendous amount of movement, especially these lower bicuspids, which are pretty round. So take a look and see if that is a limiting movement on that tooth, and whether you want to actually spend the time and effort to rotate that. If it's going to give you a better function, great. If not, I don't mind leaving it slightly rotated. Look at the top. We look at some space closure. The aligner does really, really well with the space closures. And so this is kind of the setup for a deep bite. What we do is we place the attachments on, especially the 4s and the 5s. We realize that, in fact, you don't need the attachment on the teeth you're really wanting to intrude. You want the attachments on the teeth you want to either use as anchorage or you want to extrude. So that's the reason why we place those attachments on the 4s and 5s and not on the anterior teeth. It's also nice from an aesthetic standpoint as well too. And that's how we set up our deep bite cases. I hope this has been helpful.
Your final result will never be better than your treatment design or setup. So I can't emphasize enough to spend a little time with your setups, looking at each stage and over-engineering your biomechanics. If you want to go somewhere you've never been before, then you're going to need to do something you've never done before. When you change your mindset from I can't do it to I can, that's when the magic begins. Thank you. And I hope that this webinar has been helpful.